got Mark Bradley with using Pact to deploy microservices with confidence. So Mark's the former principal software engineer on the Sainsbury's Smart Shop app. Additionally, he led the developer apprenticeship scheme there, and he's currently the senior consulting engineer at Armakuni. So, all yours, Mark. Big round of applause, please.
Cool. Cheers, thank you very much. So I'm going to get right in quick with the audience participation. So hands up if you have the freedom to deploy your work whenever you want. Okay, fair number, good. Okay, of those people, actually of everybody, who deploys on a Friday? Okay, who deploys on a Friday at 5 o'clock? Nice, I've got friends, we'll talk to you later. Okay, cool. So, I believe that you should be able to deploy at any point in time and be confident doing it. Pact, which I'm going to talk to you about today, is one of the tools and one of the things I like to use to help me get there. Okay, so let me introduce myself. Hiya, I'm Mark Bradley. I am an engineering coach and consultant. I like to use coach because if I say consultant, you're going to all hate me. So I'm an engineering coach with a company called Armakuni, and we work with companies to bring joy to engineering. We go in and we talk to engineers. It's crazy, and find out what makes their day good, what makes their day bad, and try and work with them to make all of their day good. When I'm not behind a keyboard, I like to cycle and photograph. Sometimes I try to do the same at the same time. It goes badly, but yeah. Technically wise, I'm a massive fan of shift left in testing, massive fan of TDD. I like to bang on about that a lot, hence this talk. I like it so much so that I did start doing a YouTube channel called Testing All the Things. If you could all subscribe and watch about 4, 5 hours, 9 hours a day, YouTube will pay me. That'd be good. But yeah, no, I've kind of taken a back seat on it because I hate editing the sound of my own voice. Like that, and stuff like that. And if you want to follow me on social things, I'm at Braddle. So let's get into it. Okay, so before we start, I am going to be showing code. I hopefully have made it big enough that you can see it at the back. I could see it and my eyes aren't great. If you want to look at the code, if you want to follow along, there is the QR code that takes you to github.com/Braddle/Pact demo GopherCon24. Not as hard to remember as I can't remember it, the thing that Sam was saying earlier. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some stuff around this amazing project I'm working on. It's what I work on when I want to learn something, and it's called Scoop Dash. Okay, so we're going to work on the APIs for that today. So does anyone remember the kind of like the kind of, I don't know, like the second .com bubble where like there was loads of these unicorn startups and they were like the Uber for cats or Facebook for dogs? This is very similar. We are going to work on Scoop Dash, which is Uber for ice cream vans. It's cool. I wanted to plug some AI in because my talk doesn't involve any AI. So a few weeks ago, I was working on this with a client, and I wanted to create a walking skeleton of an application. I was like, I need a logo, and I'm crap at design. I know, I'll ask ChatGPT. So I said, ChatGPT, I'm creating a Uber for ice cream vans, and gave it a bit of description. Please create me a logo. Are you ready for this? Awesome. I've started, let's use that. Are you ready? Oh, I'm not ready. There we go. I'm not joking, right? I said I wanted a professional but minimalist. Oh no, I didn't say professional because I saw that and I was like, Can you make it more professional? If for those of you that aren't concentrating, professional is rounded corners. Okay? So, yeah. So we're going to be working on that. But anyway, there we go. So, let's go to the thing. So, has anyone read Accelerate? Excellent, one person. Cool. Very early on in Accelerate, it talks about team performance. And it says, high IT performance correlates strongly with business performance. Boiling it down, good, efficient IT systems, lots of cash. So yeah, it's a really good book. Highly recommend it. It's a really interesting book. It's very well researched book as well, which is I like. Nice and sciencey and data-driven. So part of it is, so who's heard of the DORA metrics? Okay, cool, a few of you, excellent. So DORA metrics, exciting, come out of the book, come out of the people who did the book. They are metrics that can be used to work out whether a team is a high-functioning technology team or not. So we look at 4 metrics within the team: frequency of deployment, lead time for change. So this is the pace of delivery. Okay, how often are you deploying? Are you deploying many times a day? Are you deploying once a month? Are you deploying once a year? And the closer to the frequency of deployments, the more high functioning the team is thought to be. And then lead time to change, the amount of time it takes for a commit to get to production. So hit commit, hit thing, does it take like 5 minutes? Does it take 5 hours? Does it take 5 days? Does it take a century? Does it never get to production? All those things. So we look at that, okay? And then change failure rate. Okay, so what percentage of things we deploy, break, and how quickly do we fix them with time to restore? So we're looking at doing this. Basically, move fast, don't break things, is the way we go. So we need to move fast, not break things. But our world is complicated. It looks like this. Does it still look like that, Monzo? It's out of date. Okay, but what I want to say is there's lots of dots, and there are all lots of microservices, and they all need, the lines mean they need to talk to each other, I assume. I don't work for Monzo, but kind of, I work on complicated things like this. Who works on, like, maybe not Monzo levels complicated, but microservices that all need to talk to each other? Everyone, excellent. I wasn't expecting anything else from a Go conference. So yeah, so we work in really highly complex things. All these things need to talk to each other via HTTP or queues or something. And we need to move fast and not break things. But how do we deploy all of these little things that need to talk to each other without breaking things? So yeah, how can we just deploy without regularly bringing down production? Because that's not good. That's gonna, like, if we're deploying every 10 seconds, good. But if we're breaking like 99% of the time, bad. So how do we do this? So there are some options out there. We could increase our end-to-end testing. Anyone up for that? Do some more manual testing? It's slow, it's boring, who wants to click buttons? We could increase our end-to-end testing. The slowness is not there. Like, you know, also, we work in systems that are sometimes eventually consistent. So how do you add testing for eventual consistency into end testing without lots of loops and increasing the time they're going to take to run? So maybe not the best option. Okay, we could document our API and use producer-driven contract testing. Okay, so the people that create APIs and things, are you using like OpenAPI spec or Swagger? Cool. So if you come across Dread, nope. Okay, so Dread is a testing tool where it takes your Swagger or OpenAPI spec documentation. I keep using OpenAPI spec because I don't think they like using Swagger anymore. And it takes that and it runs your documentation as a contract against the code that you've written. It is a little bit like marking your own homework. It's just saying, I said I'd build it, I built it. So it at least gives you confidence that if people read your documentation and work your documentation correctly, it's okay. The issue is if you want to make changes to things, because we're making changes to things all the time, you make changes to the documentation, you hope everyone reads it, makes those changes, and then you deploy and know someone was caught out. So it's kind of, it's just you checking your own thing again. So this is where we come into consumer-driven contract testing, where the contract, how you're going to be used, how the whatever API is going to be used, is driven by the person consuming it, okay? Not the person creating it, okay? And this is where Pact comes in. So Pact's been around for a while. I think it was I've not got my speaker notes. I think it was 2013. It came out of a company called Deus. They were doing some work with a real estate company in Australia. and they were deploying microservices, and they wanted confidence of communications between various microservices. So this thing was built. It was, I think it was focused on Ruby when they built it, and then they obviously JVM was Java, and now they've done a whole host of things. So Pact is basically a really nice implementation of consumer-driven contract testing. Okay, so what does it look like? Very basically, a consumer writes some tests. The tests produce a contract, then the producer uses the contract to run tests against their interface. Okay, so it starts over here. Okay, in the person consuming the API, they produce some kind of a contract. It's called a pact, and then the producer picks that pact up and runs tests against its own interface. Okay, so that's boiling it down to a very simple thing. Let's get into it. Let's start over here. So I said it's consumer driven. So we're going to look at the consumer. Okay. So talking about APIs. So yes, we create the contract by writing unit tests against the code that's going to talk to an API. Okay. Now, obviously, we work in synchronous and asynchronous APIs. So if we are talking about a HTTP, so if we're about to consume a REST service, the consumer is the person that's going to make API calls out to that service. Okay? If we're talking about asynchronous communication, we're putting stuff onto a message, the consumer is the person that puts the message on the queue or wherever it is. Okay? So, so that's the side we're working on. And they write some unit tests against the code that's going to interact with that piece of code to talk to that system over there that they want to use. The unit tests run. If the unit test will pass, the contract's built. One thing I will say, I don't recommend using Pact if you're producing a shared client library. One of the real powers of Pact is knowing how each individual consumer of your service works with your service, because everyone will have slightly different needs to your service. I'll show you in the code in a bit. Okay? So, got this consumer, they're writing unit tests, and they're moving on. So, the unit test produces the Pact file, the contract, the thing I need from my producer, the thing that needs to enable the communication to work. Okay, so I won't go into detail of this. You can look at a Pact file. They're quite easy to read, but they generally are JSON. What they contain in high level is the name of the consumer, the name of the person talking to the API, the name of the provider, the person providing the API to them, and then a collection of interactions or messages, basically interactions that are expected to happen and how they look, okay? So that's what happens, okay? And then obviously, we've written this contract. At the moment, it sits within the consumer's laptop or CI pipeline, and we need to share it with the producer. Pact offers a really great tool. It's called a Pact broker. It's basically a repository for all of the contracts where the producers can send them. No, sorry, the consumers can send them. The producers can pull them down and test against each other. And it also, you can have versioning of your contracts and stuff like that. So we'll look at that in a bit. You can roll your own if you want, but I'm a fan of being lazy, so I use the SaaS product from Smart Bear called PactFlow, and I'll show you all that in a minute. So, it's code demo time. Okay. Hopefully, my Docker containers are up. Let's have a look. And the code is up. So we'll start with the tests. They're the fun things. So as I said at the start, big fan of shift left and TDD. So even though this is demo code, it was all test-driven. Here we go. So at the top, I'll use my mouse for the people at home watching. We've got this top bit where we've got a before all. So we create an instance of Pact. We tell it we are the consumer called scoop-client. And the provider we want to be talking to is scoop-. Okay? And our first test is, well, there's a health check, so it's simpler. Okay, you can see it here. I can get the whole test on one screen. Excellent. Okay, so working through. So we add an interaction. Okay, this is basically an API call we expect to make. So I'm going to add an expiration, and given the scoop dash service is up and healthy, upon receiving a health check request, which happens to look like this, /health, and I have an accept header of application JSON. The producer will return an status OK with this health check status struct. Okay, so who's used? It's a bit like using. So this works a bit like using HTTP test server. Does anyone use that to kind of? So I should have looked at the code. I think it uses something like it behind, but you do make actual requests. You'll see that in a minute. So you can see it here. So when I set up a new client, you can see that there's a host and a port, so it actually is making HTTP calls even if they're local. Okay, so it looks reasonably simple. What it does do, so if we look at this health status struct, you can see the normal JSON stuff from Go. We've also got this Pact thing here. So I've got Pact, and I say an example of the status is the string OK. Okay? So, and you can see here on other things, we've got examples and strings and stuff like that. So this bit is where it comes in really cool. So, going back to this. So if we go back to the test here, where is it? Oh no, wrong tab. So you can see that when I make my client call to health check, I get health object back, and I expect OK. Okay, so this, I can show you the client code as well. It's probably more interesting than pointing. So you can see here, building my URL based on my host, making a call to a thing, making a get call, and no body because it's get, and I've set my header that we talked about in the test here, and then does it. So what the Pact is doing at this point is when I set up my interaction in my test, okay, it's first of all going, oh, okay, I'm going to get called on the /health endpoint, so make a /health endpoint. When I get called, I need to check that there's an accept header, which looks like application JSON. Don't need to check anything else. Okay, once all that comes in, I return a status OK, and I return a JSON body with the word OK in it. Okay, so you can see OK here, which matches to the OK in the struct setup. Right. And then we can do more complicated things as well. So we'll also do like get calls where we get stuff back. And you can just, where is it? Lost it. Here it is. So you can do sort of examples. You can do regular expression to do kind of valid, say, well, I expect like a barcode back, and the barcode needs, I don't remember my regular expression. It needs to be digits between 0 and 9 and either 13 in length or 8 in length, because those are valid barcodes. There's more to it, but I'm not going to bore you today. Okay, so that's that. So they're just kind of ordinary unit tests. There's just kind of Pact gives you a nice interface to it. Okay, so what I can show you if I on the consumer make test. This is just using plain kind of Go test library. It's not using anything kind of. Oh, I should have downloaded it before the demo. Professional. Hang on. But yeah, I'll show you the other tests. So as I said, it does replace your unit tests. It replaces all your unit tests where, like, you're going to make a request, parse the response, do something with it, and then get some kind of struct back. You can do that. So the bit that Pact does on your unit testing is it kind of, you can replace it in anything that's looking at what data you get back. Okay. I have got other unit tests because unit test everything. So things like errors coming out of various parts of the HTTP code, I still kind of unit test without Pact. because it's not part of the contract. So like, I'm not interested in what happens. Pact or the contract is not interested in what happens when the system explodes or the system's not available or you use the wrong URL or stuff like that. You might be interested in the 404 because, again, there's a contract there. What your error response looks like is a contract as much as what your success response looks like is a contract. Oh, cool. It passed. Cool. There you go. You can see. Okay. So as I was saying, like it tests both sides of things. So if the server is expecting me to send the header, where is it? Add interaction, no, here. So here. So it was expecting, this is in the test. So if I just comment this out and save it, run it again, it's failed, okay? Because I would expect, I as the provider need to know what sort of thing you're, sending back. I suppose it's in the documentation. So I suppose I've given quite a application JSON, but obviously if you're doing like content negotiation and it's actually application JSON plus, I don't know, the vendor plus ice cream object, then you might want to, or you offer XML and JSON as a response. You can kind of make those choices. But I kind of said, no, that's cool. No, that's fine. Oh, because I didn't. I am good at TDD. It will tell me somewhere in the code. There you go. It was missing the accept header. There. So bring it back and it will come back and pass. Okay, so that's awesome. So I'll make the test pass again. And as I was saying, this creates a Pact file. And it looks like, as I said, so you've got the consumer name, you've got all the interactions, you can see kind of what it's expecting, what needs to go over the wire. Now I need to send this over to my producer to say, okay, do you meet my expectations? Do you meet my needs? So we need to make publish version equals 1.0. Got it. String. Bang. So this is now sending it up to my broker. So it's now a shared resource. So if I flick over to my broker and refresh the screen, good, didn't log me out. You can see now we have a contract. It's an unverified contract because our producer hasn't looked at it in any way. But it's a contract between Scoop Dash client and Scoop Dash. It's version 1. It's on the main branch because commit straight to main. And at the moment we don't know anything about the provider. Okay, so let's go back to some code. Let's go back to this slides. There's where I put it. Cool. So we've looked at this side. We now need to look at this side. Okay. So, I shouldn't have done last minute editing. I deleted something and I haven't put it in. So yeah, in a HTTP world, the producer is the code that's receiving requests and responding with data. And in a message-based world, it's, I've forgotten. No, I do know. It's all right. It's the things that receives the things on the end of the queue. Okay. So basically, what's really nice with the producer is the producer level interaction of this is very lightweight. You have to create one test, and if anyone's happy just creating one test, it's not like high effort. So, demo time again. Back to hackers. Okay, so now let's look at the producer code. Okay, so we'll look at the producer test. I'll show you the code first because it's really complex. It's not. Get a router, it does some things. It's so complex, I don't even have a database. It just always returns orange calippos. So yeah. But the test here that's it. That's the whole test, to test all contracts from all consumers. Okay, so we can look at this. So the URL for my provider, that's where we're going to hit make API calls. The broker URL, that's where all of my contracts are stored. The provider that I am, so hello, I'm Scoop Dash. The token that allows me to access Pact. If you go and grab the code out and go back through my commit history, you will see that I committed my token because I'm an absolute professional. But don't worry, because I've refreshed it since. The version of the provider that I'm currently going to be testing, the fact that I'm on the main branch, because always push from main, and then we'll talk about state handlers in a bit. And then basically you call verify Pact, it pulls all my packs down, and it starts making API calls against me. And then if there are no errors, I'm all good. So let's see if I'm all good. Am I all good? Make test. Again, I started the Docker container as I walked in the room and forgot that I need to download things, so talk amongst yourself. It's going. So I'll talk about state handlers whilst this is going. So obviously, sometimes you need to set up state for tests to be there. I've just you can see I've just gone log that a state handler's happened and pretend to create a thing. What you can do in here is like create some kind of a mock instance of your repository or whatever it is that sits your HTTP layer and actually provides you the data. You can just make sure there's something there ready to be used so that it does. Oh look, my tests have passed. Okay, so that's good. That's really awesome. Okay, now as the producer, I want to make some changes. So if we look at my producer code and we look at my struct. This is a copy-paste, because copy-paste is the best way to do things, of the ice cream struct from the client code, because I was lazy. Apart from I got bored, I added this amazing field called not used. Okay, so this doesn't exist in the contract. Okay, so this is the thing I really like. This is where like the marking your own homework with kind of things like dread comes in really handy. So not used. I know this is not used. I've called it not used, so I know it's not used. So I know which one to comment out, and I don't break the demo. So it's gone from the struct. Save. It should have gone grey. And if we find where I created it, there we go. It's gone red. Not used. Save. Okay. Now let's verify. Let's run. My tests are still passing. So I'm in a safe space here. I've changed my interface, and at the moment, no one's using it. So I can get rid of that. That's really good. If I was to get rid of the name or something, you'll see immediately, hang on, I can do that. So let's get rid of the name. Who needs to know the names? Everyone just remembers the barcodes of their favorite ice cream, right? Boop. Save. Okay. Hopefully it'll fail. Yes, failed. I'll be good because you caught me out. I'll check why it failed. So it failed because the packs don't verify, and hopefully, there we go. You can see it gives you more information. It says the body was missing the key name. Okay, so we're there with that. Okay, so bring that back. I'll bring not used. Well, I'll keep not used because it's gone. Save. Boop. Make test. Make sure it passes. Oh, I've missed something. Huh? Yeah. I got you. Thank you. So I love pairing. Someone's always going to see what I've done wrong. Cool. It's passing again. Okay. So it's passing, so I'm going to push to production. So what I'll do is I'll do make test dash publish. I used make things because I can't remember the command lines. I can show you them. It's basically there's a command line tool that comes with Pact that allows you to do push and pull of the data. Makes it basically does the submission. Publish. It needs a version again. Version is 1.0. So it's running the tests again, just to make sure. And at the end, it basically is done the push, hopefully. So if we go back to our broker and refresh, yeah. So we now have a satisfied contract between our consumer needing to get some data about ice creams, very important data, and our producer who's giving us data about ice creams, which is all well and good, okay? The bit I haven't been talking about is I've kind of been playing the part of the engineer and the CI pipeline and a whole load of other things. Because at the moment, this is really good, but I just want, if this works, I want it to just go to production. I've committed. Like, CI/CD, just get it to production as quick as you can. So we go back. So this is where can I deploy, basically, is what I want to know. And that's what they named the tool. So part of the command line that I was using to push code, pull code, and so on, allows me to call the command line, can I deploy? And what it does is it goes off to the broker, and it says, OK, I'm about to deploy version 1 of the consumer or the producer, either side. Is it verified? Is it all good? Can I deploy? Is it safe? If I deploy, am I in a good place? And it goes yes or no, basically, which is awesome. Okay? So it checks they've been verified, and checks the verifications are good, and you can do like this. So I'll show you the versioning in a minute. That's what it does. So let's play with it. So can I deploy? So what we can do is, if we just, let's be brave. Let's delete everything. Bang. Cool. So there's no interactions at the moment. There's nothing in the Pact. So if I go back to the consumer, I'm just going to publish again, 1.0. Cool. So it's published, unverified. So we're back at the stage where the consumer's just gone, OK, this is what I want to be able to do. The producer hasn't done anything with it yet. So I'm going to ask if can I deploy? So I think I called it, hang on, I'm going to check. Yeah, make can I deploy, obviously. Ooh. Where's my pen? No one told me I was typing in the code. God, I'm really good at typing. There we go. So, no, I can't. Can't deploy. I'm not verified. OK, excellent. So my pipeline would have stopped at this point. It wouldn't have got to production. OK? That's good. Save me breaking production. No one's not getting ice creams today. I'm not providing ice cream. So yeah. So that's good. Right. So okay. So let's go and verify that Pact. So we'll run make test and verify. Bang. Done. Passed. That was quick. That's too quick. I'm just going to double check. No, it didn't. Did I just do make test? No, test publish. Producer. Oh, I shouldn't have deleted it. Yeah. Yeah, good plan. Thank you. Pact test. That'd be alright, wouldn't it? No, it's still cached. Hang on, state handler. Ugh. I can see the cache just really. There you go, cool. Not cached, thank you. Thank you for spotting that pairing all the way. Okay, let's just check what's right though. Awesome, okay, so we've verified stuff. We'll go back, play the role of CI. Okay, just want to check, can I deploy again? No, I can't. Oh, live demos. I was so brave this morning. Contemplating it, so why is it saying I can't deploy? Oh, I shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have deleted it, should I? I was so confident. Okay. It does work. You should use Pact. This is me, not Pact. I can't see what I've done wrong, and I'm debugging in a live demo. Yeah, oh, that's true, might be. Make jump. Zoomer. No, I was meant to be producer. I think like a live demo to make can I deploy. What did I type? Producer. I'm in. Okay, it does tell you. I'm going to move on rather than debug in production. In front of, I'm calling you production, hello production, in front of the thing. But I don't know what I did wrong. I shouldn't have deleted stuff. I was just being too cocky. But it tells you that you can deploy it and that you're safe to deploy. Okay. As you can see, you can check versions and stuff like that. If you want to find me, I'm going to be in a corner crying, trying to work out what this issue is straight after. But yeah, but it kind of gives you that power of like. This is like to be used in part of a CI pipeline. It's like there so that it tests and you run it. There are all hooks and stuff like that available. Annoying.
Could it just be something as simple as the fact that you just use the same version, maybe for the increment of version?
It could be. Hang on.
That's just me guessing.
No, stop. No, because I've got a timer running. I'm trying to be professional. I said 45 minutes. There's a man there that's got a thing that's going to hold up and me going, "You've got 10 minutes left." So yeah, so it has, can I deploy? It also has, I noticed, can I integrate as well? So you've got different tooling for like different levels. It's really cool. Go back to my slides. Slideshow. So yeah, so can I deploy? No. Okay. Thank you. So what I'm going to say is this doesn't stop you documenting your API. You still need to document it. The smiling face is like, oh, I hate documentation. You still need to document it. But if you've got something like this in the running, I highly recommend you just automate it. Like just let something else write the OpenAPI spec. You can add the fluff around it if you need to, because your documentation needs to match what's there going to be in production. What this does is this allows you to make changes to your API, work at pace, and be delivering really quickly with confidence. Not doing a live demo in front of people. So it does work. The other thing is obviously we're at a Go conference, but we have friends and we like to play with our friends. We have these friends, we like to play with them, right? Yes, cool. We're not going to be like other languages. It's not. We've moved past that. We love everyone. Code is code. It doesn't matter what you're working with. You're solving someone's problems. Okay. This is what I really like about Pact. Okay. So I've just given you an entire demonstration of how you do Pact in Go. However, we don't just like produce APIs for APIs to talk to each other. The front end needs to talk to them. So there's a JavaScript implementation as well. So your front end consumers using Swift or JavaScript or Java can also set up contracts. So if you've got kind of front-facing APIs, you can make contracts. You don't need to change anything. You just do your same thing. They produce their contracts, send them up to you. You pull them down. So that's really awesome. Okay, that's what I like about it. And it's just basically implemented in every language. The only thing that's shared between every language is the format of the contract. That's it. So in PHP, it's all native PHP, really easy for PHP developers. in Rust. It's all native for Rust, so it's really nice. And you can just, it doesn't matter what API what language is either side of the communication, it doesn't work, it works. 'Cause there are other tools out there that do contract-driven testing, but they're almost tied to the framework or the language. So there's one for Spring Boot, but it only works if you're talking to other Spring Boot functions. So your front end can go, oh, I want to make a contract with you because I'm going to consume your data, and they go, nah, make a Java front end. So, but yeah, I really like this tool. I'm just trying to remember if I've got another live demo slide. No, I think I'm all right. Cool. So I slightly underrun because my live demo's exploded. Awesome. Thank you so much. I just remembered, there's a live demo that you can watch. I have a YouTube channel. If you subscribe and spend 9 hours watching, one of those things is a live demo of Pact. It's a little bit older, so it's a little bit older versions, but it does all work, and it works perfectly because there wasn't 100 people sat in front of me. So yeah, so cool. So if you want to hit me up, ask me any questions, and you don't want to do it with a mic, come see me afterwards, or if I disappear to cry in a corner, you can hit me up on social media or email me if you really want. Any questions?
Hello. Yeah, cheers for the talk, Mark. That was brilliant. Just wondering, how easy is this to kind of drip feed into, say, we have a service which is quite large and trying to get going with this, basically, rather than do like, can we drip feed it with certain endpoints or?
Yes. Yeah. Obviously, it's consumer-led, so you need to find the person that's calling one of those endpoints. But yeah, you can start with just one endpoint, like the Pact files and the versioning will just increase. So if you've got something that really changes very often, or you've got something that lots of consumers are hitting and you want to start deprecating things, and you want to know what's safe to deprecate in that API, maybe target that. But yeah, you can definitely go I've got 20 endpoints, we're going to start using this. Can you just start creating a contract for these endpoints? So obviously, that needs a bit of human communication. You can't just go, no, only going to test these endpoints at the moment. But yeah, so it's totally possible to kind of just test parts as well.
Cheers, thanks.
Cool.
Hey, thanks for the talk. I was your pair programming partner.
Thank you. I'll get you a free biscuit afterwards.
I think the question I wanted to ask was, how well does this work with async communication, right? So let's say if I have a queue in front of a producer-consumer, how well does that work? So
it works kind of just, I've only got 45 minutes, so I thought I'll go with HTTP. So it has slightly different language around it. Obviously, so the kind of DSL of kind of add interaction when I request is different, but it's just as easy to use. It's a really nice kind of thing to interact with. So yeah. That's right.
Cheers, fella. That was a really, really good talk. I was just wondering what you think the advantages of using this over to something like Open API testing and validating it against an Open API YAML file. Second question is a bit of a more technical one. Does it work with protobuf files?
Right. First question. So just testing your contract doesn't tell you how people are interacting with your API, if that makes sense. You're creating documentation. You're creating some documentation. You know all the endpoints. You list them down. Okay. The bit about this is the contract only contains the fields of your API that are being used. So what you need to probably do is work with the consumer side when they're creating their tests to go, yes, you can create a struct that has every element that I return in it. But if you only use half, don't create the struct with all of them, just create the half that you're interested in. Okay, so it does require a bit of a change in working, because usually someone will go, oh, the API documentation says this, so I'll just create a struct, because one day I'll probably use 100% of what's responded. It's easier. So you need to go, okay, actually, I only am interested in the name of the ice cream, the barcode, and the photo. So I'll just create a struct like that. Then my contract just says I have that in the contract between us. It might be that another thing asks for the name and the barcode and something else. So then you've got 2 contracts with 4 fields being used, but you still know what 4 fields are being used. And if you delete something that's not being used, your contract will pass. If you delete something that is being used, your contract will fail. So does that kind of answer the question?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
And then what was the last one? Was
No, I was just wondering because I know you're using embedded struct tags for like the Pact stuff. I was just wondering a workaround for protobuf file, or if that works.
So there are plugins for various things. I can't remember what they are now. There's definitely there are plugins that allow you to use Pact with other kind of interfaces. I can't remember what they all are. So it's probably worth looking on their website. But it's kind of a plugin, but there's a few of them in Go. I can't remember what they are.
All right, thanks very much. Appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah, genuinely very interesting. I do wonder if it puts you in a bit of a weird position when trying to use Pact. Like as a producer, right? I'm relying on every consumer to write packs and submit packs and all of that before I know. You know, in your example, you removed the not used, but there could have been another consumer that just wasn't publishing packs, right? And I've broken it for them and all of that. But similarly, as a consumer, if I want to start publishing packs, the producer has to set it all up first before I can.
Yeah. So I suppose that again, I haven't shown the element of if you go away and you're really excited about this and you want your company to use it, there needs to be a bit of a discussion about, you know, aiming what you're aiming at. Are we going to aim at a specific service first and stuff like that? So it's that kind of discussion has to happen. So although this takes away some of the need for, I'm not going to say human interaction, but that like the kind of all of this alignment stuff we have to do around APIs and making changes that kind of slow down kind of a traditional like deployment system. You have to sit down and go, we're gonna try Pact. Where's going to be our test case? What's a really good example of that? We'll do a little proof of concept with it there. Oh, this works. Okay, we're going to grow it out and stuff like that. And then what you can do once you've got to a place where you've got kind of a generally good level of pickup, you could start going with like obviously internal communications. If you're not producing Pact for us, we can't guarantee we won't break you. Like we're putting this in place so that everyone can move fast and not break things, because I moved fast and broke things and it went bad. You know, it's this thing. It's kind of like there's like with introducing any technology, there's a social side of that discussion that just has to happen and work out what you're doing.
So primarily for internal APIs and all of that, really. If you've got a public API out, it doesn't necessarily. I can't remember what the documentation said. I wouldn't recommend it for a public API because you'll just get one person somewhere that you have no way to communicate with in a nice way who will just create a pack that goes, I want everything, and just like block your pipelines forever. So this is definitely an internal facing tool, not an external facing tool. I should have said that. Thank you.
Cool.
Hi. So you talked a bit about the shared library bit.
Yeah.
Is this an argument for going, you shouldn't have shared libraries, you should do this instead? Or is this a kind of, if you're doing a shared library, you should test this in a much more straightforward way?
So I suppose the reason I advise against the shared library, you can do it in a shared library, it's absolutely fine. I suppose the part is what you'll lose is the shared library will have to have a struct that loads every piece of data from JSON and returns it, and immediately then you've lost the individual use cases which give you that kind of, oh, that field's not being used, it's fine to delete, or the stuff like that.
So in that case, you are arguing at some level that against shared libraries. You're arguing for the granularity of responses, you should force your clients to select the data they want to give you that greater Okay.
I mean, it's not
I know,
hard.
It's not hard.
So, but so
Next question.
How well does it handle and support API versions?
What's that, sorry?
How well does it handle and support API versioning?
What versioning are you doing?
Like updating, if you've got contracts that, if you've got a consumer that can't update their contracts for some reason, if you need to still produce a new API endpoint with extra content or change contract.
So I suppose I've not had it where a consumer stops like working with the producer, if that makes sense. So I can't answer that question because I haven't had that scenario to try it out.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
I suppose, like, why has the consumer died? For one of, like, it's that thing of, like, has it just gone away? I don't know. So you can, I suppose, if you're a consumer that disappears, say you had a mobile, an iOS app and an Android app, and actually no one used iOS, so you just killed the app. That's a really poor example. It's never going to happen. But you could just, you can kind of, as the consumer, you can remove your contracts, if that makes sense. You can go, oh, we're not relevant anymore. You can get rid of contracts. So that might answer. But if they just stop updating and you want to change things, I'm not quite I've never had that as a problem, because obviously they're usually a team that I can point at or Slack. And I can go, what's going on? Like, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
Cool.
Answered it, thank you.
Yeah, we've got a solid 9 more minutes, so.
I think the question I had was more around backward compatibility of, so let's say there's a producer who has, let's say there are 2 consumers, 1 producer. Producer does, everyone does V1 together. Producer goes to 1.1.
Yep.
1 consumer goes to 1.1, 1 still at, the older one. What happens in that scenario? Yeah, I think the question's more around, you sort of showed what happens, what do you do initially, but as the software cycle goes on, what happens after?
So let me just, I think my delete would have, I was just too confident. So you've got the idea of the matrix, which I kind of, so it holds all the versions of consumer and producer and stuff like that. So when you call can I deploy, it's looking at this matrix of all of the numbers and stuff. So if you're like the producer and you have 2 consumers, it'll go, okay, I'm deploying like version 1.1 of the provider, and it will just go through and it checks all of those. So all of your history is stored in the thing. I forgot, because I broke the can I deploy, I forgot to show you this bit. The other bit I quite like is I showed you that awesome Monzo diagram. It kind of automatically shows you your network as well. So you kind of know. I'm going to not do it. My next talk is going to involve, hey, there we go. It shows you all of the communication. So, like, if you're suddenly getting, like, you can also see who is talking to you, who isn't talking to you, if you know someone else is talking to you and stuff like that. Yeah. So, they're professionals. They use rounded corners. Yeah. Awesome. No.
Is it annoying to teach this with the event stuff, the producer and consumer is the opposite way around?
Yes.
Good.
There's a reason I picked the HTTP one. Yeah. It's
Sorry, I was just...
No.
Just being serious.
Yeah. That's why I like it. Yeah, it's fun.
Next question.
Have you ever used Pact to specify authentication flows, or do you find it more useful for the actual API endpoints after authentication's already taken place?
So I suppose you could use Pact if your authentication APIs have contract. Obviously, there's requests and response. So yeah, you can put stuff on that. Again, things I didn't show you is obviously if you have authenticated endpoints, you can put authentication stuff in it as well and stuff like that. So I haven't had to use it, but it is all there so that you can do it.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Next question. Can't be tempted?
Hey, yeah. I wanted to ask about the difference between self-hosting, the Pact broker, and the Pact flow one that you were using.
So yeah, Pact flow is from SmartBear. They are supporting the Pact thing. There's a free tier. If you're gonna, if you go away and trial this, the free tier will be enough to do, like we're talking about, like a couple of endpoints, a couple of APIs, perfectly fine. And then you can, I can't remember what the, I wasn't going to talk about pricing models, but there's pricing models so you can do this. I'm lazy. If someone else can host it and run it and they're responsible for keeping it up, I'll let them do it. But there's also, it's an open source tool, like all of the stuff we've been looking at. So if you want to just, I think it's all Dockerized. So if you want to spin up a Docker container inside your network that acts as your broker, you can do that. Obviously, if you looked at the code, I had to provide testing all the things.pact.io as my broker. So you just obviously do pactbroker.myemployer.com or whatever it is, you do that. So yeah, you can do it. I'll go for lazy options. There's a lovely solution. It looks quite nice. There's a new UI coming soon.
Thanks.
Next question.
Oh, God. If it's about the demo, don't ask it.
It was just on the topic of shared clients between multiple consumers. I just wanted to add to your answer more than ask another question.
Yeah.
But if you have multiple consumers that are using the same client, they're using it in a different context and they might be calling different things anyway. And also your consumer can use as part of its tests, like which fields it cares about versus what the other one, they only need to mock the fields that they're actually using, as long as the others are nullable. So it's fine for them to both have separate contracts and not have like a shared, you can still use a shared client, but without the contract for the client, use the contract for the consumer instead.
I suppose you could, but each consumer would have to somehow, I suppose you could do it where the consumer passed in the struct and then returned that struct to use, if that makes sense. Because it's this, if we go back to the code, like the filter, so the client code, it's this bit here that is the contract, which is like if you want to put like part of the power of a client library is all of your structs would be in it, so you don't have to create them 101 times. So I suppose you could have a client library if each individual user of the client library created their own structs in their own area of the code and then passed the pointer of it in or something, so that you'd kind of work that way. So you'd kind of lose some of the client power, but yeah, that would kind of work that way if you did it.
Doing a terribly good job, Mark. Well done. Could probably fit in one more question, should one exist. Big hand for Mark, everyone.
Thank you.